Life is a profound journey, one where the deepest truths reveal themselves not in moments of comfort, but in the spaces where we dare to be vulnerable and true. When someone chooses to walk away, especially one who guards their heart with walls and distance, it is not always a final sentence but often the beginning of awakening. There is a divine rhythm in how souls connect and disconnect, and sometimes the very act of leaving plants a seed of regret, not out of weakness but because what was left behind shone with a quiet, undeniable strength. First, it is the power of consistent emotional presence that awakens what was once taken for granted. When you stand firm in your calmness, in your steady heart, you become the lighthouse in the storm, an unwavering beacon that says, "Here is where love was real, steady, and true." That presence, that stillness, becomes a mirror reflecting the peace they surrendered. Then, there is the sacred art of honoring yourself. When you embody your worth with clarity and set boundaries that honor your soul's needs, you are no longer someone to be chased or convinced. You are a force of nature. This self-respect draws them back, not because you plead, but because you have become a living testament to the truth that love without respect is empty. Confidence rooted in authenticity is a light that can neither be dimmed nor ignored. When you live with purpose and walk boldly on your path, you radiate a freedom they forfeited. You become the embodiment of what it means to be whole, and in that wholeness, a space opens for them to question what they left behind. Yet, it is in the grace of detachment that the greatest transformation occurs. Letting go, not in bitterness or despair, but with the quiet assurance of someone who knows their value, creates the sacred distance needed for them to feel the absence. This distance is not abandonment, it is a divine invitation for reflection, for clarity, and ultimately for return. And finally, growth is the greatest messenger of all. When they witness your evolution, how you rise from the ashes of departure and bloom in the light of your own becoming, it stirs a longing deep within their spirit. It awakens the realization that what they walked away from was not just a person, but a soul on fire, endlessly expanding. Remember, in the tapestry of life and relationships, nothing is wasted, and every ending carries the seed of a new beginning. If you stand in your truth, with wisdom, dignity, and unwavering love for yourself, you become a force that even the most distant hearts cannot help but recognize and chase. The universe honors those who honor themselves. Be that light, be that strength, be the one who leaves a trail of undeniable worth, so that when the time is right, what was lost will seek to be found again, not out of desperation, but because they have come to see the true treasure in you, in the complex dance of human connection, especially when it involves someone who carries the dismissive, avoidant attachment style. Consistency in emotional presence becomes a profound and transformative force. It is not merely about being physically near or available sporadically. It is about the deep, unwavering emotional steadiness that can quietly but powerfully shift the dynamics of any relationship. People who tend to avoid closeness often do so because of a deep-seated fear of vulnerability and dependency. They may push others away or retreat emotionally to protect themselves from perceived threats of engulfment or loss of autonomy. This avoidance, though protective on the surface, leaves a subtle hunger, a yearning for something real, stable, and trustworthy beneath their defenses. When you show up with consistent emotional presence, you offer a contrast to the chaos they have internalized. Your steady, calm energy becomes an emotional anchor. This does not mean you must be perfect or without your own struggles. Rather, it means that you maintain a reliable space of emotional availability that does not waver with their push and pull. You become the calm in the storm they are afraid to enter, a sanctuary where they can feel safe without judgment or pressure. This steadiness sends a powerful message. It says, without words, that your care is not conditional or fleeting. It is not dependent on their approval or proximity, but flows from a deeper place of compassion and understanding. It invites them to experience the rare and precious gift of being held emotionally without needing to defend or retreat. This presence can begin to dissolve the walls they have built, layer by layer, as it meets their fear with patience rather than confrontation. Moreover, your consistent presence becomes a mirror reflecting back to them what they left behind when they walked away. It reveals the reality of your reliability and emotional depth, qualities that may have been overlooked or undervalued in the moment of separation. In seeing your unwavering care, they begin to recognize the stability and warmth that once nurtured their spirit, even if they were unable to fully receive it before. Importantly, this emotional presence is not about chasing or pleading for their attention. It is a sacred balance of being open and available without losing your own center. When you resist the temptation to react impulsively to their distance or rejection, you maintain your power. You show that your emotional world is whole and not dependent on their immediate response or validation. This kind of presence fosters trust over time, which is often fragile with those who avoid closeness. Trust does not grow overnight, especially when past wounds have taught them to expect abandonment or betrayal. But through your steady, patient energy, you begin to create new neural pathways in their emotional brain. New experiences of safety that can soften their defenses and invite them to come closer at their own pace. There is also a spiritual dimension to this consistency. It reflects a divine principle that love is patient, love is kind. It does not keep a ledger of mistakes or withdraw when it's difficult. Instead, it holds space for growth, healing, and transformation. By embodying this principle, you become not just a person, but a living example of unconditional acceptance, a profound force that invites change without force or manipulation. Ultimately, consistent emotional presence is a gift you give yourself as much as you give to them. It requires inner strength, self-awareness, and a commitment to your own emotional health. You must nurture your own boundaries and self-care so that your presence remains a source of calm rather than depletion. In this way, your consistent emotional presence becomes a beacon of hope and healing. It quietly calls out to the avoidant heart, stirring a realization that what they feared, intimacy and closeness, can actually be a place of peace and refuge when met with unwavering steadiness. And in that awakening, regret begins to take root, not as a bitter lament, but as a deep longing for the safety and love they once walked away from. To truly understand the magnetic power of embodying self-worth and setting boundaries, especially relationships with those who carry a dismissive avoidant attachment style, we must first grasp the essence of what self-worth really means. It is not a fleeting sense of confidence or validation from others. It is a deep, unshakable recognition of your intrinsic value as a human being. This recognition serves as a foundation, a sacred ground from which every action, every word, every decision flows with integrity and clarity. When you embody self-worth, you carry yourself with a quiet dignity that is impossible to ignore. It's not about arrogance or superiority, but rather an authentic acknowledgement of your own light and limits. You understand that your emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being matters deeply. This understanding is transformative because it shifts the dynamic from one of chasing approval to one of mutual respect. Setting boundaries is the practical expression of this self-worth. Boundaries are the invisible lines that protect your energy, your peace, and your soul. They declare what you will and will not accept, not as a threat or ultimatum, but as an act of self-love. In relationships, especially with someone who has a dismissive avoidant tendency, boundaries are often seen as barriers or rejection. But in truth, they are bridges that help both people understand what is safe, what is respectful, and what nourishes growth. When you set clear, firm boundaries, you are telling yourself and the other person that your needs and feelings matter. This creates an undeniable magnetism because it reveals that you are not willing to settle for less than what honors your whole being. The one who left or distanced themselves begins to see a version of you that is no longer dependent on their approval or presence for validation. Instead, you shine with an inner strength that challenges their assumptions and stirs a deep curiosity. This embodiment, worth and boundaries, forces them to confront their own fears and shortcomings. It unsettles the narrative they may have told themselves to justify their distance, that you were somehow too much or too needy. Now, they see that your boundaries are not walls to keep them out, but signposts of self-respect that invite healthier connection. The regret they feel is sharpened by the realization that what they left behind was not weakness or desperation, but a soul anchored in dignity and love. Moreover, embodying self-worth transforms the energy of the relationship from one of pursuit and uncertainty to one of mutual clarity and respect. It changes the game entirely. You are no longer someone to be won over or coaxed back through manipulation or emotional drama. You are a whole person who knows what you deserve and refuses to settle for anything less. This shift can be profoundly disarming for a dismissive avoidant because it challenges the power they once held over your emotions and decisions. In this process, it is crucial to remember that boundaries are not about controlling the other person or punishing them for leaving. Instead, they are about honoring your own truth and creating the space for genuine connection to emerge. When boundaries are clear and consistently upheld, they offer a safe container where vulnerability can grow without fear of being overwhelmed or dismissed. The wisdom here is rooted in divine principles, respect, love, and balance. Just as the body needs healthy boundaries between cells to thrive, so too does the heart need limits to flourish in love. When you embody this sacred balance, you align yourself with a higher truth that attracts not only the right people, but also the right energy. Energy that nurtures and honors who you truly are. In living this truth, you inspire change not by demanding it, but by simply being a living example of what it means to love oneself fully. You become a quiet revolution of strength and grace, and in witnessing this, those who walked away are stirred to reconsider their choices. They sense the power of your self-respect and are drawn to it, not out of obligation, but because it awakens a yearning for a connection that respects and uplifts both souls. Ultimately, embodying self-worth and boundaries is a sacred act of freedom. It frees you from the chains of needing external approval and sets the stage for relationships that are based on authenticity, respect, and deep connection. It is a magnet for love that honors the whole of who you are and a trigger that can inspire even the most distant hearts to reflect, regret, and perhaps return. Living authentically with confidence is one of the most powerful forces you can embody, especially when it comes to relationships with someone who has a dismissive, avoidant attachment style. Authenticity means being true to yourself in every moment, expressing your thoughts, feelings, and values without mask or pretense. Confidence, in this context, is not about arrogance or loud proclamations. It is a quiet, steady assurance rooted in self-awareness and acceptance. Together, they create a presence that is magnetic, deeply attractive, and transformational. For those who tend to avoid closeness, authenticity paired with confidence represents a freedom they often fear yet secretly crave. Avoidant individuals frequently protect themselves by controlling their emotional exposure, retreating into independence and self-reliance. They may believe that vulnerability equals weakness and that showing too much of themselves will lead to pain or rejection. When you live authentically and confidently, you embody a truth that challenges these fears, not by confrontation, but by example. Your authenticity invites them to see a reality that is different from the guarded world they inhabit. It is a mirror reflecting the beauty of being fully present in your own skin, embracing your imperfections and moving forward with purpose. This openness invites a deeper connection because it shows that vulnerability can coexist with strength. It speaks to the divine balance of courage and tenderness, teaching by silent wisdom that being genuine is not only safe but also profoundly liberating. Confidence rooted in authenticity shines a light on the freedom they sacrificed when they chose distance. When you pursue your passions, stand firm in your beliefs, and walk your path with unwavering resolve, you radiate a sense of fulfillment and joy that cannot be feigned or replicated. This kind of confidence is magnetic because it signals that you are whole and complete on your own terms. You are not dependent on their presence to validate your worth or happiness. For someone who distanced themselves out of fear or discomfort, witnessing your authentic life can stir a deep sense of loss. It awakens the realization that the freedom they sought by leaving was not the freedom of flight, but the freedom to be real, something they may have been afraid to embrace. Your confidence acts as a beacon, a shining reminder of what they left behind, a person who is alive, vibrant, and unapologetically themselves. Living authentically also means embracing your imperfections and being comfortable with your humanity. It means allowing yourself to feel deeply, to express emotions honestly, and to be seen, even when that sight feels risky. This vulnerability, balanced by confidence, creates a powerful energy that can soften the avoidant heart. It tells them, without words, that true connection is not about perfection or control, but about acceptance and mutual respect. Moreover, this authenticity encourages mutual growth. When you live your truth, you invite others to do the same. You set a tone of honesty and integrity that fosters openness rather than fear. This shift can slowly dismantle the walls of avoidance as the other person begins to see that closeness is not a threat, but a source of strength and renewal. There is also a spiritual principle at work here, the principle of alignment. When your inner values and outer actions are aligned, You resonate with a higher frequency of truth and power. This alignment attracts what is meant for you and repels what is not. It creates a magnetic field that naturally draws people who respect and cherish your authentic self. For those who have left or distanced themselves, it triggers a deep questioning. What did I lose by stepping away from someone so grounded and true? Finally, living authentically with confidence is an act of self-love and liberation. It frees you from the chains of pretending and people-pleasing. It invites you to step into your full potential and shine brightly in the world. This radiant self-possession becomes a catalyst for transformation, not only in your own life, but in the hearts of those who once chose to walk away. Through your authentic confidence, you become a living testament to the power of being unapologetically yourself. You show that true strength lies in honesty and presence, that real connection is born from courage, and that the love you seek begins with the love you have for yourself. This realization can awaken even the most distant hearts, inviting them to regret what they left behind and to seek the authentic connection they once feared, but now deeply desire. Graceful detachment is a powerful, often misunderstood force in the realm of relationships, especially when dealing with someone who has a dismissive avoidant attachment style. It is not about coldness or indifference, but rather about a deep, conscious release, a sacred act of surrender that honors both your own well-being and the other person's journey. Letting go gracefully is the art of holding space for what is, without clinging to what once was or desperately chasing what might never be. Many of us have been taught to equate letting go with loss or failure. We fear that releasing someone from our grasp means losing ourselves or admitting defeat. But in truth, graceful detachment is a courageous act of self-love and wisdom. It is rooted in the understanding that love cannot be forced, and that true connection must arise from freedom, not obligation. This is especially crucial when someone with avoidant tendencies distances themselves, not because of lack of feeling, but because their internal fears and patterns compel them to pull away. When you practice graceful detachment, you shift your energy from one of grasping and chasing to one of presence and acceptance. You stop trying to control the outcome or manipulate their feelings, and instead, you focus on nurturing your own inner peace. This is not passive resignation, it is an active, mindful choice to respect the flow of life and relationships. It is a divine principle that teaches us about the natural rhythm of coming together and moving apart, and the beauty that can be found in both. Detachment creates a sacred space, a pause that allows clarity and perspective to arise. For the dismissive avoidant, this space is often what is needed for them to confront their own fears and feelings honestly. When you are no longer pushing or pulling, no longer anxious or reactive, it gives them the freedom to reflect without pressure. This absence of emotional turbulence can become a mirror showing them what they left behind, not as a threat, but as a quiet, undeniable truth. There is profound strength in this kind of detachment because it honors your boundaries and your self-worth. It refuses to engage in unhealthy cycles of pursuit and withdrawal, which often reinforce the very patterns that keep people distant. Instead, it embodies patience and trust in yourself, in the process, and in the possibility that if the connection is meant to be, it will return in a healthier, more authentic form. Graceful letting go also aligns with a universal spiritual law. Surrendering control does not mean surrendering hope. It means releasing attachment to specific outcomes while holding faith in a higher plan. It is the wisdom to know that sometimes the greatest act of love is to let go and allow the other soul to find its way back when it is ready, or to grow beyond the relationship if that is what is needed. This balance between detachment and love is not easy. It requires courage to face the discomfort of uncertainty and to stand firmly in your own truth, without the need for immediate validation. It requires you to trust that your value and happiness are not contingent on their return or approval. This trust becomes a beacon, a silent call that invites reflection and sometimes regret, not because you are chasing, but because your calm, centered energy highlights the depth of what they walked away from. Furthermore, detachment encourages personal growth on both sides. It frees you from emotional entanglement that can cloud judgment and drain energy, allowing you to focus on your own healing and transformation. Meanwhile, it offers the other person the space to confront their own emotional blocks, fears, and vulnerabilities in their own time and way. When you embody graceful detachment, you teach a powerful lesson. Love is not possession or control, but freedom and respect. You demonstrate that it is possible to care deeply and let go without bitterness or resentment. This sacred balance can stir a longing within a dismissive avoidant, making them realize that what they feared, intimacy and closeness, can be met with patience, acceptance, and steady love. In this way, letting go gracefully becomes a catalyst for transformation and healing. It plants a seed of regret that is not fueled by desperation but by clarity and longing. It invites a reconsideration, a softening of defenses, and a renewed awareness of what was truly lost. Growth is the silent language of the soul, a process that unfolds gently but powerfully, often beyond the view of others until its effects become undeniable. When you embrace transformative growth and positive change, you step into a new version of yourself, one that carries wisdom, resilience, and a radiant inner strength. This transformation has a profound effect on relationships, especially with someone who exhibits a dismissive, avoidant attachment style. Witnessing your evolution can awaken a deep sense of longing and regret in them, not because they are forced to feel it, but because the truth of what they left behind becomes undeniable. Change is often born from struggle, loss, or the courage to face one's own vulnerabilities. It is the alchemy that turns pain into purpose and challenges into opportunities. When you choose to grow after separation or distance, you signal a powerful message. Your life is not defined by another's absence or rejection, but by your own capacity to rise and thrive. This kind of growth is transformative, not only because it heals you, but because it inspires others by example. For someone who has distanced themselves emotionally or physically, seeing you flourish beyond the confines of the past can trigger a profound shift in perspective. They may have left in search of freedom, or to avoid perceived suffocation, but your positive change reveals a freedom of a different kind, the freedom to evolve without fear, to embrace life fully, and to cultivate happiness from within. It is a freedom they may realize they gave up when they chose to walk away. Transformative growth goes beyond superficial changes. It is not about simply moving on or distracting oneself with new experiences. It is about deep inner work, unpacking old wounds, releasing limiting beliefs, and stepping into your authentic power. It is the commitment to self-awareness and healing that builds a new foundation of self-love and respect. This foundation becomes the fertile ground from which your whole life flourishes, creating a ripple effect that touches every part of your existence. Positive change also means reclaiming your narrative. You stop defining yourself through the lens of what was lost or who left. Instead, you become the author of your own story, one filled with courage, hope, and possibility. This reclamation is magnetic because it demonstrates that true strength lies in transformation, not in clinging to the past or to people who do not fully see your worth. For the dismissive avoidant, witnessing this growth can stir a deep recognition. It awakens the realization that the person they once walked away from is no longer waiting in the same place, vulnerable and uncertain, but has become someone who embodies resilience and self-mastery. This realization can spark regret, not as a bitter lament, but as a quiet longing for the connection and potential they left behind. Your growth also challenges their own patterns of avoidance. It quietly invites them to reflect on their own fears and limitations, encouraging them to confront what has held them back from authentic intimacy. In this way, your transformation becomes not just about you, but about the possibility of healing and growth for both of you. Spiritually, this process aligns with the principle that the soul's journey is one of continuous evolution. Every experience, every heartbreak, every moment of letting go is an opportunity to ascend to a higher level of understanding and love. By embracing this journey wholeheartedly, you embody a divine truth, that through growth and change, we become more fully who we were always meant to be. This growth also radiates outward, affecting how others see you and how you relate to the world. Confidence rooted in positive transformation creates a powerful aura that attracts respect, admiration, and genuine connection. It becomes a living testimony that healing is possible and that love, when nurtured from within, can flourish in its purest and most beautiful form. Ultimately, transformative growth and positive change are acts of radical self-love. They free you from the shadows of regret, resentment, and fear. They illuminate a path forward, one filled with hope, strength, and a profound sense of peace. This radiant transformation can awaken even the most avoidant hearts, stirring a desire not only to reconnect, but to do so in a way that honors the growth and evolution of both souls. Thank you for sharing your time and trust with me. Wishing you strength and clarity on your journey ahead. Goodbye for now, and may your path be filled with growth and light. In the tapestry of human connection, the dance between presence and absence, attachment and detachment, growth and letting go, reveals the deepest lessons of love and self-discovery. When you embody consistency, honor your worth with firm boundaries, live authentically with unwavering confidence, release with grace, and commit to your own transformative growth, you become a force that awakens even the most distant hearts. This journey is not about control or chasing, but about becoming the fullest expression of yourself, a beacon that invites reflection, regret, and sometimes a return rooted in genuine respect and longing. Remember, the power to inspire change in others always begins within you. By standing firmly in your truth and embracing your own evolution, you not only heal yourself, but also illuminate the path for others to rediscover what was lost. Love, at its highest form, is freedom and respect intertwined, and in living this truth, you cultivate a connection that transcends fear and avoidance. Thank you for allowing me to share these reflections with you. May you walk forward with courage, clarity, and the deep knowing of your own worth. Goodbye for now. May your journey be blessed with growth, peace, and love that honors the divine within you.